Hi, welcome to the Lead Generation Roundtable. My name is Nick Griffith. This is a weekly Zoom every Wednesday at 11 a.m. The idea of this is it's an organic call, really, where you bring your questions, I share some best practices, I interview experts, and it's really here for people to get unstuck. You know, the idea of there being a round table is you're bringing your questions, challenges, problems, things that you're trying to get answered, and bring them here. So make the most of me. And today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with what I've called the lead generation journey. There's been a few questions, and thanks very much for everyone who's submitted in their questions. And I'm sure we're going to see some more come in as well. But actually, one of these questions is really kind of sort of fundamental, I would call it. And that is almost, what is, and how do I get my best sort of leads here? What are the best lead generation tools? And I thought a great place to start with this would be to put some sort of framework, some context into this. So what I've got here is a journey that I've created here. I'll share the link later in the Zoom call for you to actually take this yourself. But you can see on this page this funnel called the lead generation journey, and that's it. What the page you're looking at here is the lead generation score. Now this is a quiz I developed that any business can take. You can be any industry, you can be any scale or size, you could even be pre-revenue, you could even be, I haven't started generating leads yet, but you could still get an idea of where you're at. Call it a sort of a snapshot. If you go into the doctors and say, I'm ill, they're going to start out by asking you some questions. And this is 12 quick to answer questions. And the idea is that within less than 3 minutes, you can give yourself a score on where you're at right now against these 3 main steps within lead generation. So my questions and answers are going to be structured into these areas so that instead of just giving a whole download of information, I'm taking it chunk by chunk. So if someone says, what are the best qualifying questions you can ask a prospect? And the next one is, what are the questions you've got here? The best lead generation tools. I'm going to start with the best lead generation tools. And I'm going to take that. We've got awareness, engagements, and conversions. And I think a lot of people, they're trying to jump straight into conversions and thinking, how do I get to the bottom of the funnel before they've even looked at the preliminary steps in the journey. And I was having a conversation with my father, actually, and I was saying to him, so you're talking about traffic. Okay, a lot of people talk about traffic in lead generation. And the question before traffic is, how do you become aware that that solution even exists? There was a time and place not so long ago where Amazon was just a river in South America. And now obviously it's one of, if not the biggest retailer on the internet. And at some point in his journey, he became aware that Amazon existed as an option. So before you get to traffic, this is really the first step in your lead generation journey. So how aware are people of your brand and what you do? And I'm going to run through some examples here of how you can improve your awareness of what people are aware of what you're doing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the questions within the quiz. You can take the quiz for yourself. I'm not going to go through every question, but just to give you a flavor and to get the juices flowing here, because this is a round table, and someone is saying, what are the best lead generation tools? So taking that in step one, what are the best awareness generation tools? Clearly, we've got one of the #1 websites on the internet, Google. So with Google, you've obviously got SEO, and SEO versus PPC. That is a whole conversation in itself. And I've got a number of experts who I'm going to be bringing onto future calls who are going to really sort of, this is what they live and breathe, Google Ads. In fact, I think they kind of almost work 22 hours a day on it. So I'm going to be grilling them on some really sort of detailed sort of expert questions on Google Ads. But for today, I think it's fair to say I would describe Google is split into two halves. You've got SEO versus PPC. And a good way to look at this for today, just to sort of keeping it fairly high level, is if you've got a website with very little content and it's fairly new on the internet. So these are all the sort of the KPIs that Google's going to rank your website. It's going to say, how credible is this person? How many people are visiting this person? How many visits are coming to the website? How many times are people coming back? How long are people staying on the website? And Google's going to use this to help rank your search engine optimization ranking. Now, clearly, if you've only been in existence for a week, your SEO isn't even going to be on page 2 or 3. You're going to be way down the ranking unless you're in a very specific niche and you really got your sort of keywords and meta tags very well constructed. And my guess is that that's going to evolve with time. So it's fair to say that something like an SEO ranking is more of a medium to a long-term strategy. So I say medium to long-term, I don't mean years and years, but let's say 6 to 12 months of hard effort. You'll be starting to see and yield some results from SEO. And that's consistent effort. We will take a deeper look at this on future calls. But if you're thinking, where do I start, PPC versus SEO? I would say, if you're looking for quick, instant results and you've got a budget, then paid advertising, pay-per-click advertising is not the cheapest place to start, but it's certainly one place where you can instantly start to grab some land and some traffic down from Google. I would say that Google advertising is probably one of the more expensive types of lead generation. And I'll look at a comparative between, you've got social media channels, Google, how they look on a future call. But I would say Google, have in your mind, I can pay for the traffic here. It's something that I can get up and going almost immediately. And it's going to be, you're talking the sort of, it could be $1 to $5 per click. That's not per lead, but per click. For somebody coming to your page, that sort of money. So it's not the cheapest form of traffic there. But Google SEO, and Google paid advertising. Social media, well, there's a whole range here in terms of where you would start. So I would say let's broadly look at organic versus paid traffic, because clearly Facebook and Instagram are probably two of the biggest social media channels to collectively, as well as YouTube, the biggest social media channels on the internet. Or perhaps YouTube is less looked at as a social media channel, and is it's still credible because it's the second biggest website on the internet, and communities that are being built on YouTube are massive. It's often one that's overlooked. So you can pay for advertising on YouTube, you can pay for advertising on Facebook, you can pay for advertising on Instagram, but they've all got their own organic strategies. And I think the debate of which one is best, organic versus paid, I think everyone's going to have their own opinion. It's a question I think actually shifts with the tides of time. Previously, you could get a long way by building yourself an organic strategy with something like Facebook, because their advertising platform wasn't as, shall we say, robust, cost effective for the user. And so clearly people were coming onto the platform, spending time on the platform, And they were doing this because of the algorithm posting the content, and you could get quite a long way by not having to pay for traffic to come to your paid ads. So I would say that in in, in kind of current climates now, that tide has sort of shifted. I mean, Facebook makes its money from paid advertising. That only works if people making a return on investment. And as a sort of degree of magnitude, it's several degrees of magnitude cheaper for leads than a Google paid advertising. However, I would just give a comparison between Google ads and Facebook ads. Um, it all comes down to intent, buyer intent. And when I say intent, you're Googling, you want to buy, I was Googling a bread maker yesterday. I wanted to buy a bread maker. Now, Google's giving me all the different options of bread maker. So my buyer intent for bread maker is quite strong. Now, if I'm on Facebook and I'm selling bread makers, how do I target somebody? You might want to target somebody that is in that world. They're like home cooking. They might be keen on fresh bakeries. They might be somebody who's in a community that likes making fresh bread. The point being that Facebook can identify who your characteristics, almost like your avatar, like your personality. That doesn't mean you're looking to buy a bread maker yet. So the buyer intent as a whole for paid traffic is lower on the social media. So there's a lot of people that might attract a lot of opt-ins or followers or likes through social media, people joining their social media group, but they're not actually ready to buy something yet. So that's just one area to sort of trade off. The only way with all lead generation is to test and measure. So give yourself a miniature budget. I think a reasonable start point, we might say, where can £100 get me in a month? The answer is it'll get you some data back. It might even generate a lead or two. It might even generate a sale or two. But don't go wild and crazy with, let's start with a £10,000 budget. Equally, to be saying, well, what can £5 achieve me on lead generation? You've gone too far the other way. So £100 as a monthly budget is a reasonable sort of start point to kind of say, what can I do with lead generation? So I think in terms of other forms of awareness generation, Google, I talked about social media. I mean, here I am, I'm a 45-year-old man and have to get on somebody who was 25 or younger to be talking about TikTok, Snapchat, and other social media tools. But the world is bigger than Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube, and even I was learning about YouTube communities. So it continually evolves and shifts. But beyond that, in terms of awareness, some of the perhaps lower hanging fruit, if you've got any kind of email list, if you've got a LinkedIn community, I mean, LinkedIn is obviously one of the biggest social media networks out there, more of a business to business community. But this is something where you can still tap into people, and through the fact that they've connected with you, the GDPR consent, my latest understanding is that it's implied consent. They're giving you a sort of handshake of permission. So you're free to message these people like you are on Facebook and others, but you're free to message LinkedIn directly through their platform. So this is a great source of generating awareness. And I'll go further than that. Any form of email list. Obviously, in the last couple of years, GDPR has become the legal sort of standard of am I able to email these people? So an email list from 10 years ago, that's not something you've got permission to email and contact. Mobile phone numbers, don't forget what's on your phone number. I've got over 1,000 contacts on my iPhone. So these are all ideas for you to go away and think about, but you can go further. If you're watching this as a recording, then how are you watching it as a recording? Perhaps you're watching it on YouTube. You could Generate awareness by doing a Zoom call. You could then record that Zoom call, which is what I'm doing with this. So that's another way of putting your brand out there. You know, what's your topic? Getting people interested. Okay, so other areas. Perhaps in the last year, there's been less live speaking events, but live speaking events will be back. And you know, even in the interim, we can generate awareness by having webinars and you know, Zoom calls. And going further than that, I know a lot of people that have published books. Just almost rather than about making sales from the book, it adds credibility and it spreads awareness. It's also a nice gift to give people. Um, it's a nice gift to give people. Hi, we've got people joining in the call now, so welcome. For those that are just perhaps joining in, what I'm doing is a sort of very high level kind of flood through here of what are the kind of the key elements to generating leads. This is the lead generation roundtable. This is an open sort of Q&A. And one of the main questions I'm asking is what are the best ways to generate leads? And I'm using this framework called the lead generation journey. And I spent 20 minutes talking about just awareness, but this is a quiz you can take yourself. So if you're thinking, how do I get that? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this link here. For anybody that's wondering, I've come in halfway through this or joined in, or where can I find out more? What you do is, I'm just going to put into the chat. So www.digitalmarketingpartnership.com lead generation scorecard. It's a free tool. So anyone that's here, I know you can see the screen, go and take this and find out where you are now. I'm just sort of focusing mainly today on awareness. If you don't have awareness, you're never going to get to engagements. You're certainly never going to get to conversions, and then you're never going to get to leads. So what other points would I make with awareness? I think one of the things I've learned, and I'm sat here probably because I've learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes along the way, and learned a lot of things the hard way. But I would say certainly from a point of view of formats, you've got written emails, you've got videos. Obviously, videos. Look at YouTube. Look at the success of YouTube. I think it's over 2 billion people on YouTube, and that is, you know, almost a day. I watch YouTube probably more than television. So, okay, you've got videos, audio blogs. I do a weekly audio blog. Now that is a recording where we do 10 or 15 minutes, rather than just do a weekly PDF or a weekly or monthly email or newsletter. We just do a 10-minute audio. And at the end of that, we use a website called rev.com, rev.com. I'm going to put that in here. Again, helping out where I can is, if anyone's got any questions as we go, just put them into the chat. But rev.com, they do transcripts. And a transcript comes in at about $1.25 a minute. So you do a 10 or 15 minute audio blog or podcast, if you like, that can then become a transcript. And, you know, you're talking about less than £20, something like this, to get your audio then recorded into a text format. Very quickly, if you do one of those a week, you've started to get a very real library of content as you go. And that's a very, very useful sort of resource to have. So you've got obviously images, Pinterest and Instagram. They're probably the kings and queens, if you like, of sharing images and using that as a different way of taking a format and repurposing it to increase your awareness. Not everybody is going to engage with the video. Not everyone's going to engage with an image. However, if you're taking a blog and then repurposing it into an image one week, and video the next week, and then a sort of mini video the weekend after that, because it was a long one, and actually people are really interested in doing something which is shorter. Actually, why not turn your blogs into a shorter blog version or a longer blog version? We've obviously got, in terms of areas and arenas, I mean, in terms of raising your awareness, you could host a Zoom call, you could be a guest speaker on a Zoom call. The same goes with social media groups. And I mean, the group supply, I think Facebook's probably the king of groups, but there are, I wouldn't even say hundreds of thousands. It could even be more than that in terms of groups out there. So search for your areas of topic, and groups are a great place to find out what questions people have got, as well as you ask your own questions and make a contribution. So it's a great place to learn, as well as to kind of network and meet people. LinkedIn is a great source of also for groups. And all of these channels have got live streams. And I think since they're a newer format, they're a great place to kind of almost punch above your weight, I would call it. Punch above your weight being, you might be a business that's been around 6 months and someone else has been around 6 years, but if all they're doing is just doing text post, and you're the one doing a live stream once a week, then actually you're going to feature and be broadcast and be, you're going to have a higher reach with Facebook, because it's trying to promote the live stream format. So again, it's trying to sort of work your way through the system here. And talking of working your way through the system, this is a weekly call. And if you've got any marketing collateral, I mean, Kevin, if you've got landing page, if you've got ads, if you'd like a run through of where I think they could be areas you could improve on, or you want feedback, take that any way you wish. But this is what these calls are about as well. So they're very much, anyone who's listening to this, come and join the next week call. Bring your link to your landing page. Share that. I'll go through that. And you can say to me, Nick, how could I improve on this? It's not working out for me at the moment. Why am I not getting hundreds of people opt in every day? So that is one way to do this. Another way to do this is, I'm just going to share a link here, and that is, you can have a bit of Nick time to yourself, 10 or 15 minutes on your business. Book yourself in for a one-to-one call. I've just put in the link. It's a discovery call, just 10 or 15 minutes of your time. Book yourself into my calendar. So one-to-one with me, we will look at your business, what you're trying to achieve, and my initial ideas as to, how what I do might be able to help you. And you can ask any questions as well. And talking of how what I do might be able to help you, a quick point about awareness. There's a lot of people that have created, how many PDFs have you ever downloaded and not read? How long are those PDFs taken to read? How many times have you read a huge, long blog post? I would say probably less than 10%. So actually, one of the areas I help support businesses, just going off on a short tangent, if you forgive me here, looking at the page here, is I build quizzes, scorecards, personality tests. They all fall under this banner of something which is engaging. So you could take your content, you could have a book you've written, you might find something else that someone else has written, and you think, well, I'm going to make that my own. I've got something which is, and that's a 2018 version. Things have happened since, but there's a framework within that context. The point being that there's a topic or an area that you think could fit into something where people Q&A through, I don't know, 10 or 15 questions. I'll give you an example. Someone, I think it was love languages. They wrote a book on love languages. What is your primary love language? Now they'd written a framework from what they do, and through going through, I think it was about 15 or 20 questions, you came out with, oh, my primary love language is I like to talk and I like to hear words of affirmation. So they had put into a quiz something that you could never really put into a PDF. And that whole exercise was done in less than 3 or 4 minutes. So far more engaging for people, and also very viral. It's the sort of thing that I shared with two people just to find out what their love languages were. So that was one industry sector, but going on a completely different point, as to kind of reiterate how you could use a quiz, and this is something that you can speak to me about on a one-to-one call, and that is somebody was looking to borrow money for the next property deal. And sure, lenders have got their own questions, and then you might be running up against a score. Is my score going to be affecting my credit rating and that sort of thing? So a softer landing for that is to actually build somebody with your own expertise. And this particular person was in the crowdfunding space for property. Several questions to help people understand, were they investment ready? And you're giving people an immediate answer back. So it doesn't have to be all about building this book or writing this whole, on-stage talk. It could be something as simple as creating a quiz. I'm going to go through, we're going to spend about another 5 minutes here today. So rather than try and cover off all of these sections in one, I'm going to look at some of the other questions we've got here. And I'm going to take on this question on qualifying questions you ask every prospect. And this is a good one. And I think that it's probably something we've all got right and got wrong along the way. But what are great qualifying questions? You want to find out if the person, you're able to help this person. You want to be finding out where they're at. So great qualifying questions is, find out a little bit about their business. So a trick I learned recently was ask people a two-part question. And what that does is it helps kind of keep the call that you're doing quite short, because the brain is trying to answer two questions at once. So if you're saying to someone, what is your business? How do you help people? What's your what sort of product do you offer? They're going, or how do I help people? What product do I offer? They're trying to answer two questions in one go there, and that stops the question and answer session going on for too long. So you're trying to get an idea of, what you offer, but you're trying to get an idea of what they're doing, and you should know, what is your ideal sort of target market. So qualifying questions is what industry they're in, and what sort of product or service are they there to offer. If you're a B2B person, then clearly you're not going to be looking for somebody who is out there just selling t-shirts for £5. That's not your target market. So you're going to know from those key questions industry. Then you're going to a very good question to ask is, what do they think their 2 or 3 main problems are now? Don't presume, but just get them talking and actually listen in. They're going to tell you, they're like, well, I don't know what my main problems are. Okay, well, what are you trying to achieve? It's a lot easier for people to reflect on what's not working now. They might say, well, I want to achieve this in the next 12 months. And that can be a follow-on question in terms of qualifying, but you certainly want to find out what they think their problems are now, and main problems, trying to keep a limit on that. And in terms of a follow-on from that, what are they trying to achieve? And I put a time frame on that over the next 12 months. You're trying to get a feel for, is this person a match for my product or service? And you can say to them, You're not going to come out and say, do you have the money to pay for this? But a way around that to get an idea of what they're already spending their money on is like, you don't say how much money have you got in your wallet, but what solutions are you already paying for? Trying to get a feel for, are they making any investments at all? At all. You can also get an idea of affordability without asking them what their budget is by saying, what revenue targets, monthly are you at the moment, or what are you trying to grow to? Now, if you're £1,000 a month and they're currently doing revenue of £500 a month, and that's their revenue, are they going to spend out on £1,000 a month for your service? Truth is, probably not. If they're doing £10,000 a month and your service is £1,000, doesn't mean they're going to necessarily buy your service, but they're in the more likely affordability category. And I think that I've made this mistake myself in the past in terms of qualifying questions. What else, could you ask people in terms of qualifying them? I think another question that's kind of could have come in is the sort of second half of this, which is what makes a great client to work with. And that is actually comes all the way back to the very, very beginning. And that is qualifying them at the beginning. So what do you want out of a client? And obviously, what do they want out of you? If you're wanting somebody to buy your service long term, first of all, do you have the right product to offer them that is something there for the long term? Or are you really only offering them something that they're going to come here and be gone in a month's time? So, what might make a great client to work with you might define as, well, I want someone who is low maintenance. You might be talking the holy grail is unrealistic, but you might be talking someone that is, long term. They pay their invoices on time, and I don't know. We go out and have a social element. So you should know what you want and what defines a great client to work with. Almost, you could be talking your dream here, but write it out. Put it on a piece of paper. What is your ideal client? Maybe that list is totally unrealistic, but then you want to construct what you're offering and how you're offering it towards attracting and retaining those types of clients. So some of my examples of difficult clients have been clients that they're contacting me all hours of day and night, that perhaps are asking you to go above and beyond, and actually they're then paying their invoices late. Then you might choose to put this into your agreement at the beginning. You say, this is when we're expecting invoices to be paid by the 15th of the month, and they're signing on to that at the very outset. So again, it's, I think, probably learning from experiences, and they were probably some of my experiences. I actually had one client who, since the invention of WhatsApp, they thought it was okay just to kind of communicate early hours or late hours of the day and night because it suited them. Actually, all it took was a conversation where I said, if it's going to be out of hours, please put all communications across onto email. And I don't want my personal phone ringing WhatsApp in the middle of the night. So what makes a great client to work with, I would say, is for me, speaking honestly, is you're doing work for them and you're seeing the fruits of your endeavors. I've worked with many clients, so you're actually doing something. You're going round and round and round and round and round on the hamster wheel. So it's really not actually making any progress. And a year later, you really feel like it's kind of a waste of time. So I would say definitely, think about what your ideal client would look like. And then that's going to help you define where are your amber lines and where are your red lines. If you say to somebody, no, this has to be paid at a certain time, and they don't, let them know that. If they're communicating out of hours and they're going above and beyond, then again, let them know that. I've seen instances where actually people have got rid of clients just because they've asked them to make changes to the way they're working, and it's actually, it wasn't the client's fault if you think about it. The client wasn't told at the very beginning what was being expected. They were probably telling them exactly what they wanted, but was it being communicated two ways? So they would be some of my tips. And we've got some questions that we haven't even got to this week. So instead of overrunning, it's the last couple of minutes. And anyone that's listening in, I wanted to say thank you. Thanks for listening to the recording. I'm back here Wednesday, 11 o'clock. And please bring all your lead generation questions. We're going to have guest speakers coming in and doing deep dives in some of these areas we can get to today. And also, what we're going to do is we're going to expand the boundaries, because clearly lead generation goes into, or I've got all these leads, what's the best way of converting leads? So that whole area of how do you get somebody from almost out there as a nobody into a sale and money in the bank, all of these are topics for future calls. So anybody that is listening in that is thinking, what's my next step? Well, your next step is go and find out your lead generation score. It's free, take 2 minutes. I'm just going to put this into a meeting for everybody. Here we go. This is going to, and what you can do in this is you can get a diagnostic, a kind of diagnostic is a bit of a clinical word, but a snapshot of where you're at. Go into the doctor's surgery, 12 questions, 3 minutes. It will give you a score, and it will also give you customized, specific ideas on how you can improve your leads and score based on your answers. So I look forward to seeing those that are listening next week and new people. Thanks very much for your time. My name is Nick Griffith, and thanks very much.